So you wake up, grab the phone, scroll through the feed for 20 minutes, drag yourself to the coffee pot, fire up the laptop. You look at your to-do list, and you just feel that weight, that exhaustion that makes zero sense because technically you haven't even done anything yet. You take a deep breath, try to pump yourself up, but it feels like your brain is swimming through molasses. And then that question hits you, the one that's been haunting you. Why am I so burned out and the day hasn't even started? Look, the answer is going to completely flip the way you see your mental energy. And no, it's not laziness. It's something way deeper and honestly, way more serious. Stick with me for a sec, because in the next few minutes, you're going to understand why your brain is glitching out and exactly how to hit the reset button. Let me tell you about Marina, 32, works in digital marketing, total rock star on her team, never misses a deadline. But Marina had a secret she was actually kind of ashamed of. She'd get home and feel completely trashed, like couldn't even get through a chapter of a book, couldn't watch a movie without checking her phone every 2 minutes. She'd spend her nights doom scrolling until she basically passed out from exhaustion. And the kicker, she woke up tired. You know that feeling where it feels like you didn't even sleep, even though you got a full 8 hours? Marina went to the doctor, checked her thyroid, vitamins, everything was fine. The doc said, hey, it's just stress, and gave her some supplements. She took them, changed nothing. Why? Because Marina's problem wasn't in her body, it was in her head. And I'm going to explain this in a way that'll make everything click. Your brain uses up 20% of your body's total energy. 20%. It weighs, 3 pounds? But it gobbles up fuel like a massive engine. And here's the thing. Most of that energy isn't going toward big occupy thoughts. It's going toward processing data, filtering noise, making tiny micro decisions, resisting distractions. And that is the glitch in our digital age. You think you're chilling when you pick up your phone, but your brain is actually running in turbo mode. Every notification is a decision, reply or ignore. Every TikTok is a visual stimulus your brain has to decode. Every clickbait headline is a tiny shot of micro-anxiety your nervous system has to manage. This happens thousands of times a day. It's called cognitive load. And we're living in a state of chronic cognitive overload that humans have literally never dealt with before. But wait, it gets weirder. Researchers at Stanford did this study that should have been front page news, but it kind of just flew under the radar. They measured the focus of people who juggle multiple tabs, screens, and info sources at once. You know the vibe, working with 15 tabs open, Netflix on the second, on the monitor, phone sitting right there. The results were honestly terrifying. These people couldn't filter out irrelevant junk anymore. Their brains literally lost the ability to decide what was important. Everything became a priority. Everything demanded attention. It's like their mental filter just snapped. And the most shocking part, even when they weren't multitasking, their brains stayed in that scattered mode. It became the new default setting. Does that sound like anyone you know? Like, have you ever tried to read something important and realized you've read the same paragraph 4 times and absorbed 0% of it? Or tried to have a deep convo and felt your mind trying to bolt for the door? That's not ADHD. That's cognitive saturation. Your brain is so full of noise, it's forgotten how to create silence. But here's where it gets really real. There's a concept in neuroscience called the default mode network. It's the state your brain enters when you're doing absolutely nothing, showering, walking, staring out a window. In this state, your brain does something kind of magical. It organizes memories. It processes emotions. It connects dots that seem totally random. This is where insights come from. This is where you actually rest. But to get there, you need boredom. You need a vacuum. You need to not be consuming content. And when was the last time you actually let that happen? When was the last time you stood in line without grabbing your phone? Or sat with your thoughts for more than 5 minutes without a distraction? We've lost the keys to our own mental rest mode. So your body enters this vicious cycle. You're saturated, so you don't produce. Since you aren't producing, you get anxious. The anxiety makes you crave a distraction. The distraction increases the saturation. lather, rinse, repeat. Marina found this out the hard way. She had a total meltdown at work, started crying in a meeting for no reason. That's when she saw a therapist who specialized in burnout. The therapist asked one simple question: when you get bored, what do you do? Marina said, "Duh, I check my phone." The therapist said, "And what if you couldn't?" Marina froze. She realized she literally didn't know how to be alone with herself anymore. The idea of 5 minutes without external stimulation gave her almost physical anxiety. And look, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about, but there's something I gotta tell you before we get to the fix. This is not your fault. You aren't weak. You don't lack discipline. You are going up against systems designed by the smartest minds on the planet with one goal: to hijack your attention. These people have PhDs in neuroscience and game theory. They know exactly which buttons to push in your brain to keep you scrolling. The infinite scroll isn't an accident. It's a feature based on how lab rats react to variable rewards. Those red notifications, not an aesthetic choice. That's the color that screams danger to your brain's alert system. Stories that vanish in 24 hours? That's artificial FOMO. It's attention engineering. You're fighting against billions of dollars of behavioral research. So seriously, stop beating yourself up. But here's the part you actually need to hear. Understanding the problem is only half the battle. The other half is knowing what to do. And I'm going to give you something practical you can start today. This isn't about deleting your social media or becoming a digital monk. It's about building cognitive borders. Your brain is bad at telling the difference between a big deal and a nothing burger when it's in reactive mode. It treats everything like an emergency. So the fix isn't more willpower. It's choice architecture. In plain English, instead of fighting your impulses, you structure your environment so the right choice is the easiest one. First step, cognitive protection. Blocks. I'm not saying you need to meditate for an hour. I'm talking about micro breaks throughout the day. 3 minutes. Just 3. No music. No podcasts. No texting. Just you and your brain. Maybe in the shower without the phone. Maybe in the car before you walk into the house, or just staring at a wall after lunch. Sounds stupid? Try it. The first few days will feel weird. Your brain will scream for a hit of dopamine. It'll invent emergencies. But if you hold the line, something cool happens. Marina started with 2 minutes in the morning, just sitting in her kitchen with coffee looking out the window. That's it. For 3 days, she almost quit. The anxiety was real. But on the 4th day, for the first time in years, she had a spontaneous creative thought. A fix for a campaign she'd been stuck on for weeks just popped up because her brain finally had the room to process it. Second step, radical input curation. This is where most people mess up. They try to consume less of everything. But the secret isn't quantity, it's quality and intention. Your brain can actually handle a lot of info, but it cannot handle fragmented, low-quality junk on a loop. Think about it like this. Reading a 15-page deep dive article is actually less tiring than reading 30 headlines about 30 different topics. Why? Because the first one builds a coherent neural path. The second one forces your brain to context switch 30 times. Every switch has a cost. Scientists call it the switching cost, and it is expensive as hell. So do this. Pick 3 sources of info you actually value. 3 channels, 3 newsletters, whatever. Consume them intentionally. Sit down, focus, absorb. The rest, cut it. You don't need to be informed about everything. You need to be deeply informed about a few things. That fear of missing out will fade, and you know what'll replace it? Clarity. Third thing, and this is the most counterintuitive one, produce, don't just consume. Your brain wasn't built just to be a data processor. It was built to create, to solve problems, to build stuff. When you only consume, you create an imbalance. It's like eating all day and never working out. That energy has nowhere to go. Marina started writing 10 minutes a day, not for a blog, not for anyone to see, just getting the junk out of her head and onto paper. At first, it was just blah, blah and grocery lists. But over time, she got clear. She started seeing patterns. She found solutions to problems she didn't even know she had. And that mental weight, it started lifting. She finally had an exhaust valve. It doesn't have to be writing. It can be drawing, cooking a new recipe, fixing a leaky faucet. The point is to give your brain a creative mode, not just an input mode. Now, I know what you're thinking. This sounds great, but I don't have time. I'm already underwater. Let's have a real talk for a second. You don't lack time. You are burning your mental energy on things that don't matter. And when it's time to do the stuff that does matter, you're on empty. It's not a time management problem. It's a mental energy allocation problem. Think about how much time you spend on micro distractions, checking for notifications, reading junk headlines, watching the stories of people you barely know. If you add it up, it's probably 2 or 3 hours a day. But it's not even about the time. It's the attention residue. Every time you check your phone for 30 seconds, you break your flow. And getting your brain back to deep focus takes 20 minutes. So you never actually get there. You just spend the whole day in shallow, exhausting productivity. The most productive people I know don't work more hours. They guard their mental energy like it's a precious resource. They get that attention is the new gold. Whoever controls your attention controls your life. And they've decided they aren't outsourcing that to an algorithm. I get the pushback. 3 minutes of doing nothing feels like a waste. Cutting out info feels like you're falling behind. Producing feels like work. But you know what's actually hard? Living with a brain that's constantly saturated, ending every day exhausted, but with nothing to show for it, losing the ability to have a deep thought. That is hard, and honestly, it's kind of sad. Here's how Marina's story ends. 3 months after she started these tweaks, she had a performance review. Her manager actually surprised her. He said she was more creative, more present in meetings, more strategic. Marina wasn't working more hours. She was actually working fewer. But the quality was on another level, and more importantly, she felt alive again. She had energy for things outside of work. She could actually be there with the people she loved. Her big aha moment, the fatigue she felt wasn't physical. It was existential. It was the exhaustion of constantly being outside herself, never fully present anywhere. Mind always split between 1,000 pings. When she made space to come back inside, everything changed. So be honest with me. When was the last time you were truly present? Like doing one thing without thinking about 10 others? Having a deep thought that didn't get interrupted? If you're struggling to remember, it's not because you're distracted. It's because you're mentally saturated. The good news? There's a fix. It's not a magic pill. You don't need a retreat in Tibet or to quit your job and become a monk. You just need boundaries. You need intention. You need the guts to protect your attention in a world that profits from your distraction. So here's the challenge, not for next week, for today. Pick one thing, just one. It could be 3 minutes of silence tomorrow morning. It could be deleting that one app that sucks your soul. It could be writing for 10 minutes before bed. One thing. Do it for 7 days. Not as an experiment, but as a commitment to your own sanity. Because at the end of the day, the most important battle isn't for money or status. It's for your mind. And you're losing that battle every time you give away your attention without thinking, every time you accept saturation as the new normal, every time you confuse being busy with being alive. You aren't tired, you're saturated, and you don't fix saturation with rest. You fix it with space, with a vacuum, with productive boredom, with the courage to be alone with your own thoughts without filling every second with noise. Stop fighting the exhaustion. Start fighting for clarity. Stop trying to find more energy and start protecting the energy you already have. Stop consuming more to feel better and start creating space to feel whole. Because in the end, it's not about how much you can do. It's about who you get to be while you're doing it. And being someone who is present, clear, and intentional, that doesn't happen by accident. It happens by choice, one choice at a time, starting right now. If this hit home for you, if you saw yourself in Marina's story, do me a favor. Don't just hit the like button and scroll away. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because there are a lot of people out there thinking they're weak or lazy when they're actually just fighting a system that wasn't built for their well-being. And hey, hit that subscribe button because we're going to keep diving into the stuff that everyone feels, but nobody talks about. Hit the bell too, because the next video is all about how to get your deep focus back in a world that's trying to kill it. Drop a comment below. What's the one thing you're going to do differently starting today? I'm actually going to read them. I'll see you in the next one. And remember, you don't need more content. You need more clarity. And clarity starts with space.